Right now, somewhere, a person is standing outside a bar on a cold night, cupping the flame of a lighter in their hands. They're repeating something that's at least 12,000 years old, ever since a tired hunter by a fire couldn't be bothered to move away from the smoke, and neither of them ever really chose it. Imagine that hunter is you. The coldest night of the year. You toss the first branch you find onto the fire, but it's damp, green. It won't catch. It just smolders and pushes thick, sweetish smoke straight into your face. You should move. But you've got nothing left, so you stay put, eyes watering, smoke clawing at your throat. And then something in your head goes quiet. For the first time in days, you feel genuinely good, and you have no idea why. You figure you just got lucky with the fire, an upgrade, it happens. But what you've actually done is blindly find a hidden switch inside your own head and flip it by accident. And, naturally, you're proud and certain you're the first person on Earth to reach it. You're dead wrong. This is the story of how humans started smoking. Not cigarettes, not cigars. The very first time a human deliberately breathed in the smoke of a burning plant. And it started earlier than you'd think. The oldest traces of tobacco by a fire at a site in what's now Utah are around 12,000 years old. No pyramids yet, no writing, no wheel, and someone is already sitting by a fire, breathing it in. The very next night, he's back at the fire. And basically, he starts running experiments. He throws one plant on the flames, then another, then a third, and leans into the smoke. Most of them just make him cough till his eyes stream and spit it out. Rough stuff. But a couple actually work. And that, not the fire, not the plant, is the real discovery. The decision itself to come back and do it again on purpose. And now for the thing he'll never know. When they burn, some plants release compounds that hit the brain directly. He thinks he just found himself a comfier spot by the fire. What he's actually done, without a clue, is find a lever inside his own head and pull it. But there's where he's most wrong of all. He isn't the first to feel this, Dot. Not the 100th, not the 1,000,000th. The same thing happened for 1,000,000 years before him. And, strangest of all, not just to humans. The urge to feel different, the very one that keeps pulling him back to the fire, is older than our species. Older than fire itself. And all this time, it had been hiding where you'd least expect it, in animals. Reindeer dig through the snow for one particular mushroom, the fly agaric, and then wander the tundra clearly not themselves. Siberian peoples noticed it for centuries. Jaguars in the Amazon chew a bitter vine and then flop around in the leaves glassy-eyed, with a look like they're really enjoying it. As for elephants and fermented fruit, people have told that story for a couple hundred years, though scientists still argue over whether 5 tons of animal can actually get drunk. And there are dozens of stories like these. And here's the honest caveat. Biologists don't always know why an animal does it, whether it's a craving for a high or something simpler. But from the outside, it looks strangely familiar, which leads to a bold hypothesis. The wish to feel different, even for a moment, may not be a human quirk at all, but something that runs through everything with a nervous system. It's just that in humans, this urge got passed along, from fire to fire, hand to hand. You can almost hear the old hunter nodding the young one toward the flames. Don't sit there. That smoke just burns your throat. Come over here, downwind, where the branch with the grayish leaf is. Sit a while. You'll figure it out. No theory. No explanations. Just one person giving another a friendly nod. Your eyes will water, sure, but trust me, it's worth it. Well, there's your answer, you'd think. An ancient urge, the eternal smoke over the camp, one curious hunter, and a discovery passed down the line. Mystery solved, you'd think. Drop the curtain. Except that only explains how we were able to start smoking at all. Not why it became one of the great forces in human history. Because we didn't stop at a nice feeling by the fire. We built temples on it, medicine, prayers, trade routes that redrew the map of the world. Wars, yes, actual wars over a plant you set on fire and inhale. The chemistry, honestly, is the boring part. The interesting part begins where people start doing things with that smoke. Jump forward a couple thousand years, to the steppes of Central Asia. Around 440 BC, the Greek historian Herodotus describes the Scythians, and he can barely believe what he's seeing. They climb into a tightly sealed tent, throw handfuls of cannabis onto red-hot stones, and sit in the smoke until they start howling with delight. They don't come out for hours. In Herodotus, it reads a lot like an ancient 5-star review. Cramped conditions, way too much smoke, would do again. It all started with one person rubbing his watering eyes alone by a fire. And now, a whole tent packs into that same smoke, and nobody's in a hurry to leave. This isn't survival anymore. This is a party, one that's 2,500 years old. And it's the same wherever you look. In ancient Egypt, doctors burned a plant called henbane, genuinely powerful stuff, and prescribed its smoke as medicine. And then again, back then, smoke was medicine for pretty much everything. Feeling bad? Breathe in a strong plant. Feeling great? Well, probably breathe some in anyway. And all across the ancient world, in one tomb after another, the same things keep turning up. Traces of soot, the oldest pipes, charred little seeds. Nobody taught anybody this. Every people arrived at it on their own, again and again, because everyone already had everything they needed on hand. Curiosity and a fire. But the peoples of the Americas took it furthest of all. For the Maya, the smoke over a fire wasn't a side effect. It was a message, a thread between the living, the gods, and the dead. They grew tobacco so strong it would drop a modern person in seconds. This was no entertainment. They prayed with smoke. They healed with smoke. With smoke, they brought back, for a moment, the ones they'd lost. That same grumbling hunter with his damp branch had, over thousands of years, turned into a way to reach another world. And then the two halves of the planet collide. 1492. European sailors step onto a Caribbean shore, and the locals, the Taino people, hold out a bundle of dried tobacco leaves. The sailors take their first ever drag and immediately break into a cough, almost to tears, exactly like our hunter 12,000 years earlier. 12,000 years, and the reaction's identical. And they still, coughing and wiping their eyes, carry those leaves back across the ocean. And in just a couple of generations, a habit that began with one freezing hunter and a damp branch wraps itself around the whole world. Sailors, soldiers, kings all across Europe and Asia quietly get hooked on a plant from a continent they'd barely even heard of. So when did humans start smoking? Honestly, there doesn't seem to have been any clear beginning at all. There was a fire. There was a feeling. And there was a person too lazy to move away from the smoke. Which, you have to admit, is the most relatable opening in all of human history. And everything after that, the tents, the temples, the ships, the person standing outside a bar on a cold night right now, cupping the flame of a lighter, all of it traces back to that same quiet moment, repeated 1,000,000 times over 1,000,000 years. Nobody taught that hunter to want this, and nobody taught the ones who came after him either. It was already in us long before there was a single word for it. And maybe that's the strangest thing about the oldest habit in the world. If you really look, nobody ever started it. We just never moved away from that smoke. And there's one thing I can't stay quiet about. That same urge that kept a freezing hunter by the smoke is still alive in us. We're just breathing something else now. His smoke came from a damp branch by pure accident. Ours comes from a product deliberately engineered so we can't stop. What began as a warm evening by a fire is today the world's leading preventable cause of death. Around 8 million people a year. The instinct is 1,000,000 years old. The cigarette that hijacked it, 100 at most. And I've got a question for you, honestly, no catch. Now that you know this was never really a choice, just something ancient and human quietly pulling us toward the fire, does that make the habit easier to understand or easier to finally quit? Tell me in the comments. I'm honestly curious what you'll pick. I read every one. It's more addictive than the smoke itself, and this one, I've got no urge to quit.